Hey folks, today we're going to be working on a bloom. We have an 8x8 canvas. I prepped the canvas by spraying water onto the back to tighten it and into the corners to tighten them, and then putting painter's tape around the edges. So that canvas is all ready to go. I haven't done a full-length bloom video yet, so I'm going to go through absolutely everything I do and what I use, so this might be a bit long, and if you already know this stuff, you can fast forward. So there are three things that you need to do a Sheleeart style bloom. The first is a pillow paint, and that's what all of your colors are going to rest on top of. The one I use is PPG Multipro Interior. In Eggshell. It's the white pastel base, and then I don't have them add anything to it or shake it up or anything. I just take it home the way it is. That pillow paint sometimes is great and sometimes is way too thin. If you get a can and it's too thin, let it sit open for several days until it gets to the consistency you want. Stir it occasionally so it doesn't get a skin forming on the top, because that's super gross. And then you have paint goobers and it's really problematic. But I found the PPG Multipro, when it's good, it's great. And most of the time I've had like not great luck with perfect consistency on that one. So it's cheap though. That's the bonus with that. Okay, so that's the pillow paint. Then you have your regular paints mixed up in your pouring medium. My pouring medium is a little bit more complicated than necessary, but I'll just go through it because this is what I use. I have Behr 8300 Deep Base. You get it, it's the high gloss. You get it untinted, and you can add your colors to that. That one's really, really thick, and you add some Jo Sonja Gloss Varnish to thin it out, and your tube paint. Here we go. Sometimes it's a little too thick, and sometimes the 8300 you get some wonky cells and some squiggling after the fact. So what I've been doing is adding, I've got a HGTV Sherwin Williams Infinity semi-gloss in, what is it? Base C. That I've been doing like 2 parts of the Infinity to 1 part of the Behr 8300 to 1 part of Jo Sonja, or maybe it's the other way around. I think it is the other way around. I think I do 2 parts Behr 8300, 1 part Sherwin Williams Infinity, and then 1 part Jo Sonja, and then plus my tube paint. I put tube paint in until it's the color that it is in the tube, which isn't exactly a measurement. It's more of a eyeballing it, and if it doesn't look like your color is saturated enough, add some more color to it. So that's my pouring medium, and that's what all of the colors I have are mixed with, is that Behr 8300, the Infinity Deep Base, or the Infinity Base C, and Jo Sonja, and then my tube paints. And then the last thing you need to do a bloom is the cell activator that's on top. The one that I'm using is Amsterdam Lamp Black. It's really hard to see the consistency on black on a video, but I mix about 1 part of Amsterdam paint to 2 to 3 parts of Australian Floetrol, and I'm more looking for a consistency than I am in exact measurement. When it drizzles off of my stick, you won't be able to see it very well here, but drizzle, and then I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it should stop drizzling and spring back up toward the stick around 5. If it stops dripping quicker, then it's probably too thin, and if it drizzles for longer, it's a little too thick. So that's my cell activator. So let's go through the colors that we're using today. Today I have, at the bottom, I'm going to be doing a Phthalo blue. Then I think I'm going to follow the Phthalo blue up with my Artist Loft Metallic Cobalt hue. This one is kind of good to see the consistency. So when I drizzle it around, it leaves a trace for about 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds, and then sinks. So we drizzle and then count 1, 2, sink. All right, so that's my Metallic Cobalt hue. Next up is Amsterdam's Greenish blue. And then I'm going to throw in an interference color. This is this little piggy macaw. It's an interference. It goes, it's hard to see anything but the gold right here, but it goes from gold to green to blue. It's a really beautiful interference, and I don't use it very often. But I thought today, since I was doing a bunch of blues and bluish greens and green, that I would throw that one in there. So here we have, oh man, I forgot already. I think this is Sap Green. I mean, I know it's Sap Green, but I don't remember the brand off the top of my head. I'm gonna guess that it's Amsterdam, although it could be Liquitex. And then I have Sky Blue Light from Amsterdam. So those are my colors. They are all ready to go. My cell activator is ready to go, and I have just enough pillow to do this canvas. So let me get it down. Okay, our pillow paint is all ready to go. And next we have to layer our colors. So I'm going to start with Phthalo Blue. And Phthalo Blue, at least this one, this is Liquitex. This one's opaque, and I don't think all Phthalo Blues are, but this one specifically is opaque. And so be aware of that when you are layering your paints. With this Phthalo Blue, if you put it on top, it's opaque, and it's going to completely take over your painting because nothing beneath it you're going to be able to see because of the opacity. So generally, if I'm using an opaque higher up in my bloom and it's not right, at the base layer, then what I do is only drizzle a little bit so it doesn't take over the entire painting. Because I have a couple from when I first started doing these blooms where I put the opaque paint at the top and I put a bunch of it, and basically that's the only color you're going to see. So to avoid that, either put it toward the bottom or use it sparingly if you're using it on the top. All right, so next up we have this metallic cobalt blue. This one is opaque too, but I don't really care if it fights with the phthalo blue because I love it. So we're going to just drizzle a bunch of it. I think I saw a bloop in there somewhere. That is a problem. That was probably one too. I should probably go digging for them. All right, so a little bit more because I love you. It's one of my favorite colors. It's probably in half of my paintings. Okay, next up we are going to do a bit of Amsterdam's Greenish Blue. And I feel like we've already gotten quite a bit of this type of color in this painting already, so I'm just gonna drizzle around a bit of it. Maybe a little more. Okay, maybe that was a little too much. Okay. So that's that. Then I'm going to follow that up with my interference piggy macaw. And generally speaking, I can't get too much of these interference piggies. These pigments are so beautiful, especially when they dry and you can see the way the color shifts. It's pretty intense and awesome, and I do not get tired of it. So lots of macaw. Okay, then I'm going to top that off with a little bit of sap green, whatever this is. I should have really looked it up. But oh well, okay. So sap green, all of the colors and the pouring medium and everything, all of my recipes are listed in the video description. So I will make sure to check and see what brand it is before I post the video. All right, so a little bit of sap green. I don't want a ton of green because I'd rather it be a bluish painting than a green painting. So that's good for the sap green. And then I'm going to top it with a little bit of this Amsterdam Sky Blue Light. This one is opaque too, so the same rules apply. Because I'm using a black cell activator, I don't want to leave my last color on top be something really dark, because that black is just gonna hide. So to make the black stand out a little bit, it's always best to use a light color on top, like this Amsterdam Sky Blue. But again, because it's opaque, we don't want it to overtake the painting and that be all you see. So I'm just going to kind of drizzle a bit of it around so it doesn't take over everything in the painting. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna clean up some of my mess here in just a second, and then I will pour the cell activator and we will get started. All right, so we're ready to blow out the bloom. And I've got my cell activator here. It's, I think, 2 parts Floetrol to 1 part Amsterdam Lamp Black. And I'm ready to go. It's been a while since I've done one of these blooms, so I'm a little bit nervous about blowing it out. Just tilting it back a little bit so it's in the center. So yeah, wish me luck. Ooh, those colors are pretty. I like for it to be as circular as possible. So I kind of, if there's a little divot where I feel like I can blow it out a little bit, where there's a little cell activator, I try and catch that and push it out into a more round shape. Sometimes I miss it, sometimes things get smushed. And then I have a hard time waiting. When what's going on in the center here is that the cell activator is sinking and the little bubbles of paint are kind of pushing up and out, and they will eventually come together if you leave them alone. So that's the key here, is that you actually have to be willing to leave them alone. I have a big problem with that. So I often try and keep myself occupied by like schmoozing around the sides so that I just let that center do its thing. I mean, I'm talking now, so that's kind of helping. I think I'm gonna blow this out a little bit. That was ugly. It's a little bit better. And then maybe over here is kind of, I like it better when it's a flowier look instead of like, I don't know, kind of gross. All right, so I'm gonna get my skewer and we're just going to modify a few things around the edge. There's a lot of really great cells happening in the center. I've got some cute little like peacock cells kind of peeking up through the center. Lots of that metallic cobalt blue, which is awesome, and I'm sure lots of that macaw will come through too. So we're going to schmooze. Wipe my painting stick off on my painting hoodie. All right, then we'll come out here. Oops. I don't like it when things don't end in a perfect spiral. That's a bit better. Okay, because when that's stretched out, it's gonna bug me. It still is, but whatever. I can't always win. Okay, so here we've got a lot of this. Maybe let's do that. And the last little bit that I don't like is right here, so let's see, what should we do? We will cut down and swirl back up. Okay, that's about as good as it gets. And look at the center. See how I said how that cell activator would sink if I just left it alone? And as a matter of fact, it did. Goes to show. Okay, so now we're about ready to spin it out. I'm gonna tilt it a little bit this way first because otherwise it's gonna be just a little too off center. Okay, and we will adjust as we go, schmooze some paint, make sure our edges are nice and pre-moistened. Okay. Do. All right, ready to go. Let me wipe off my finger and then we'll spin. All right, let's push it a little bit this way and then spin it again. Those colors are awesome. It's like a peacock. Okay, so we've got it coming off this side. We're gonna push it the other way. And actually, it seems to me like maybe you'd have a better view from the top, so I'm gonna move you. Hopefully that's a better view. Okay, so we'll spin it again and see where we're at. Okay, so we still need it to come this way and like basically that edge is cool. So we're just gonna keep on pushing it a little bit off to that side to help it go over that edge. I'll give it another good spin. Okay, so now we're gonna check and see how much paint we have left, see how much is moving. Not a ton, so we're just gonna give it a couple more little spins and then we'll probably call it good. I'm just getting paint on all the edges to make sure they're not naked and help that last little bit of color come off. So I'm gonna give it another good spin and hopefully that'll do it. All right, that did it. If you can hear my dog walking around, I apologize. He's just coming to visit. All right, so I'm going to get you on an angle and take you in for a close-up because from my angle, this is so sparkly.